Okay, we're going to call the Tuesday, August 10th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting to order. We're going to start with an invocation followed by a pledge of allegiance. If you would please stand. Clyde, if you would.
Would you bow with me? Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer tonight, thanking you for this country, this nation, and all the freedoms that we enjoy. We know that we are truly a blessed nation, and that we have freedoms that many other countries do not have. We ask that you be with the troops that are protecting those freedoms, whether they are here in the States or whether they are away. We know that there are hardships on those families. We know that there are hardships on the troops. We ask your blessings upon them. We also ask your blessings upon each of us tonight. And we ask that you give us, the leaders of Franklin, the spiritual wisdom and guidance as we make the decisions that will ultimately affect the direction in which the city of Franklin goes. We ask this night, we offer this prayer in the name of our Father and Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've done that. That's enough. You think I should? Okay, so we have two birthday announcements to give tonight. One is Mr. Clyde Barhill, who turned 39.
And thus became the youngest member of the board.
Maybe that's how long he's been on the board. And the second one is to my wife, who I have not yet seen today, and no telling how long I'll be before I get to see her again, but I want to wish her a happy birthday as well.
If that's the best happy birthday, you're not going to see her forever.
She said she was in a meeting tonight too, so we're okay.
That's code.
That's right. All right. Yeah, you're right about that. I was here for our wedding anniversary as well, so it's going over pretty well. Item number 4 are comments and statements from the citizens on issues that are not on this agenda. I repeat, not on the agenda. We have several public hearing items coming up, and you will have an opportunity to talk at that point in time. So that you have something to say on something that's not on the agenda, I'll be glad to take it at this point in time. If not, we're going to move on. All right, moving on to item number 5 is comments from Williams County Mayor, Williams County Commission. I haven't seen any here today. So item number 6, approval of minutes, July 21st, 2010 pension work session, July 27th, 2010 work session, July 27th, 2010 Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And now, somebody's got to help me on the number 7 item, the certification of excellence for financial reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. I don't have that thing here. Do we going to go on and do that again, or
well, let me just speak to that.
Why don't you do that?
This is the top recognition provided by the Government Financial Officers Association for financial reporting. It's what we strive to provide and have. What's our number, Russ? We're at 21. 19.
Mayor,
19.
point of order. I think we need to adjourn the executive session.
Oh, we do. You're right. Thank you for that.
Motion.
Let's stop
Yes.
real quick.
Okay.
You're right. Thank you for doing that.
Motion to adjourn.
And the
Executive
second, we had a motion to adjourn executive session. Need a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Just so everybody knows that we went into executive session at 6:35, and when we come out, we have to adjourn the executive session, and I forgot to do that. So just because I was so excited at being my wife's birthday. Anyway, so go on. I'm sorry.
Really not a whole lot else to say, except for it is not a small achievement. We're proud of what has been done there as part of the transparency and reliability of what happens in our financial transactions throughout the organization. And I want to thank, in particular, Russ Truhl and our entire finance department for their efforts on this. Mike Lowe, who's our comptroller, leads the charge on a lot of this work as well. And I just want to thank them for that great work and for this recognition.
All right. Item number 8, miscellaneous reports. Anybody have anything they want to say? Michael? No? Gosh. Amazing. Good job.
Don't invite him.
Well, I know, but sometimes I go too fast and then he has to cut in. Item number 9 is consent agendas, item 16 through 26. Do I hear a motion? And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 10, this is a public hearing. Consideration of Resolution 2010-53, a resolution approving a concept plan for the Franklin Housing Authority, called the Granbury and Straw Street Development, a PUD subdivision, 114 dwelling units, and 3,700 square feet of non-residential space on 8.84 acres, located north of Granbury Street at 145 Straw Street and 1236 Columbia Avenue, by the City of Franklin, Tennessee. This went through the Planning Commission on 6/24. Does anybody wish to address this body on that subject? Okay, seeing none, I will declare that public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 11, this is a public hearing. Consideration of Resolution 2010-54, resolution approving a concept plan for Through the Green PUD subdivision, 264 dwelling units and 125,178 square feet of non-residential space on 43.08 acres located along Columbia Avenue at Shadow Green Drive. Does anybody wish to address this body on that subject? Okay, seeing none, I will declare that public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Discussion. Bev.
In all due respect to the developer, he has the right to develop this at the current level of, current numbers of dwelling places there. Back in 2006, I voted for this, and that is a vote I regret, and I wish I had taken back. I could take that back because I do not believe that residential goes in this area. It's a commercial area with solid waste nearby, firing range nearby, quarry nearby, a number of other things, our fire tower that is set on fire a number of times. Too many issues in that area, and I just, they certainly have the legal authority to build to what they were given previously in 2006, but I will be voting against this.
Margaret.
I think this is not the most appropriate place for this development, but I was not here when it passed, so I will be voting in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to report that the Workforce Housing Task Force this past week reviewed this information in this project and wholeheartedly support the additional density, the 7 units that will be deed restricted for incomes. Not only the 7 units that will be deed restricted for incomes, the commission also recommend that this board approve that 7 units of the rental units should be voucher related. And in our discussion from the task force, discussion with the owners and the architect, this would not be a problem for them to include not only the 7 deed restricted units that we so desperately need in this community, but also 7 voucher rental units where people can move not only they can move from a rental situation into homeowner through a voucher program. I'm going to ask Eric to speak a little bit about, not Eric, but Vernon to speak a little bit about
Eric looks like he was ready, but
a little bit about the work that this task force has put together and their somewhat, I guess, is it amendment that we are needing to propose here, or that these 7 voucher units be included in this ordinance?
Thank you, Alderman. As outlined in the memorandum that was shared with you earlier today, the Affordable Workforce Housing Advisory Committee did have a discussion at their meeting last week and recognize the adjacent city uses and some of the concerns that you've all raised previously, but also recognize that the property was zoned for residential units already. And the developer is proposing an additional 68 dwelling units, and in accordance with our inclusionary ordinance, has agreed and is willing to deed restrict 7 of those, 10%, for sale to lower income families. The committee, in trying to look comprehensively at an affordable workforce housing program, recognizes that as a family transitions from public housing into rental housing or home ownership, that often they participate in the HUD's voucher program, in which their income or ability to afford rental, the rent on a particular property is offset by the voucher program. And the developer has agreed to include 10% of the existing rental units that were a part of the initial development as maintaining those as available for families on lower income that participate in that program. That program would be administered through the Franklin Housing Authority. We would do that as a separate agreement and not as a condition of the approval.
Okay. Yes, Michael.
Mr. Mayor, there's 2 things that I object about this increase in the density on this development. Number 1, there are no improvements for traffic for this area, and people that travel Columbia in the mornings and the afternoons know what problems we have there. Additional units and density will not improve. It will only worsen the traffic problems we already have. There are no improvements scheduled for this part of Columbia in the near future that would assist with this. The other issue is really a quality of life issue. We're essentially making some of these residents second-class citizens, in that we tell them that it's okay for them to have to put up with the noise and environmental issues that are in that neighborhood. And I'm certain that by approving this density, that we'll only have more unhappy citizens at some time in the future. And one day, there will be a group that will come in here and protest to this board about why we ever approved a neighborhood to go adjacent to the conditions that exist here.
Mayor, we're not relocating anyone involuntarily. Anyone who eventually lives there will have chosen to live there. We are not marching people to Oklahoma and telling them they have to stay there. They can go there if they want. If they don't want to go there...
My forefathers,
well, then you should be offended, not defending it. That we're not making anyone go live there. And we're not springing a shooting range or a fire tower or a jail on them after the fact. Or a school, for that matter. Good point. We're either rezoning it to a little higher density or we're not. When those people come down off the hill and complain that they moved in next door to a trash transfer facility, we'll just point out to them that it was there before they were. I mean, I don't get it. We're not, this body does not exist to protect people from themselves. If they make that choice, that's their choice. And on a bigger issue, this whole affordable housing thing, I have maintained from day one that I got here that the solution, if we want a solution to affordable housing, and I say if, because some people don't, and that's fine. If you want a solution to affordable housing, it is very simple. Muster the political will to permit the density that solves that problem, because the price per acre of land in this part of the world is high. And the only way that you can bring price points to the level that some people advocate is to create a regulatory environment that permits a private sector to deliver and meet that demand. All of this bending over backwards to offer up 7 units amidst almost 300, it's lip service.
Better than what we have.
Okay? Well, I'm not of the mind that a little bit of something is good enough. I mean, if we really want to provide workforce housing, then approve this and say, don't come to me with 7 units that you're willing to deed restrict. Come to me with 200 that you're willing to get on the market at a price that people can afford. And then we can either say yes or we can say no. I for one, it's frankly tiresome to me to have people come in and tell me they're going to build $300,000 condos and they're going to give away a couple at cost. Pick one. Either you're being a hero or you're not. Either you're meeting a demand or you're not. So, yeah, sure, make 7 affordable units if you like. But the reason to do this is to meet a demand with a market, not with some committee that sets prices and takes vouchers. That's a half measure if ever there were one. I can live with this because the people who have the money will decide whether or not this is a viable solution for them. Not regulators who made them give up 7 or 10 or 12 affordable units, whatever that is.
Ken?
I'm okay with this.
Well, I agree that it's not the optimal location. Being a golfer, I like seeing the golf course there, but I think this does offer some opportunities. One is that it creates a walkable neighborhood for many of these people that may choose to live there, and that they'll be able to shop and hopefully stimulate the economy in those shops over there. I think that the affordable housing units, I'd like to see a lot more, like Alderman Clendon, but we have 7, and so that is a start. And I would hope there would be some better connectivity possibly with the development and the shopping center there, if that could be worked out.
Anybody else? Yes.
I just want to add that one of the things that will be part of this is the disclosure. I think several of us have concerns about potential homeowners and residents coming to us complaining about what is currently there. Prior to buying into or renting into this particular area would be a disclosure process where individual homeowners, potential homeowners, will know all of these concerns that surround their neighborhood. So.
Yeah.
Those are good points, about the affordable housing, the walkable community. Those are great points, and of course, they are going to have a disclosure, and we talked about that in 2006 when we voted for it, about the disclosure. But it's different once you're in. And I've had an experience with this because in 1996 I did a marketing study for a company that wanted to develop something near a city dump in Alabama. And against our advice and against the study's advice, everything, they went ahead and did it without waiting the 7 years until the dump closed. And that unit those condos sat empty. Some people came in and bought. Some of them they sat empty, and finally it went down to nothing, and those units sat empty. And I know it's not our responsibility to protect the developer here, absolutely not. And they take their own risk, and they will do that. But people will possibly move in. But I just see the scenario. When you have a solid waste department, and you have firing ranges, and you have quarries and blasting, and those things nearby, you will have people that will move in. And if they're in an apartment, no problem, you could move out. And then possibly have empty places. But condo people, they buy those places. And they're there for a while, and they go, this isn't working out. Now, I may be wrong, and I hope I am. But I would be amiss if I did not relate those concerns of mine. And that's why, if I could take this vote back from 2006, I certainly would. Because I just don't think that this is a proper place for it. Although some of those issues that were brought up with the other aldermen are very good points, I still think that the density. I just cannot, I cannot vote for the increased density.
Any other comments? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-2. Item number 12, this is a public hearing, consideration of an ordinance 2010-55, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to rezone 22.7 acres from low residential R1 to civic and institutional C1 for property located along Clovercroft Road and west of Bay Hill Circle. Before we do the public hearing, Eric is going to address this body on a few issues.
I just wanted to publicly walk through the commitments that have been discussed. Again, conditional upon the approval by the board for the rezoning and the concept plan. But one of the things we've tried to do as a staff, working with the leadership at the Williamson County Schools, was to try to define as clearly as we could what this partnership meant. And there had been discussion about working in partnership, and I think true to that spirit, we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks going through some issues and looking at what some solutions might be. And specifically, there are 3 areas where the schools have offered some specific commitments, and I wanted to walk through those quickly just so that everybody understood what has been discussed and where we are with that. First of all, one of the issues that has been looked at was sewer capacity and how ultimately we dealt with the need to upgrade pumping capacity. And essentially, we've looked at that and understood that really the process or the mechanism in place prior to the school would be the same mechanism that's in place after the school, which is the developer, and in this case, the developer, and maybe in partnership with the school, ultimately is responsible for making those pump upgrades at the appropriate time when the development within that neighborhood as well as the school warrant it. And that is essentially the exact place we were before this development and this project came forward. But we continue to have that, and again, it's at no or minimal cost to the city that any of these upgrades happen to help increase based on the development. Within the traffic area, one of the things we ask staff to do in particular is knowing that the traffic studies are still ongoing, but we know enough to know what the primary areas of concern are, and we looked at those and worked to identify some initial ranges of cost for those and shared those with the school district and talked about ways we might be able to address those. In response to that, a couple efforts have come forward and commitments are being discussed, which would be, first, a commitment for Williamson County Schools to fund traffic signals at both Wilson and McEwen and at Wilson and Clovercroft. And these would be items we'd need to get approval from TDOT to move forward with. The McEwen-Wilson Pike signals have already been submitted. In fact, were submitted by the city the first part of June, prior to us knowing that this project and this school development in this site was, in this general area, was going forward. So that process has already started. We will need to work together to bring the Wilson-Clovercroft intersection and that signalization forward as well. We feel that that is doable in terms of getting the signals approved and in place prior to the opening of the school, and that will have positive impact both related to the school and to the general flow of traffic in that area of the city. As I said, we identified a number of other improvements we think make sense. They relate to increasing the capacity of McEwen, adjacent to the McEwen-Wilson intersection, and specifically providing a turn lane there that will work very well, we think, with the signal, as well as expanding the left turn lane from Wilson on to Clovercroft, and a series of other improvements right in the Breezeway School entrance area were all identified and costed out by the city, again, tentatively or initially as rough cost estimates. And the school district has identified funding of $1 million to go towards those priorities, really at the city's discretion to apply those dollars appropriately to what we feel are the appropriate priorities from a traffic flow condition from improvement of those areas overall, and in terms of what fits and works with dollars that we will need to budget and identify going forward in terms of our capital funding. We also identified specific improvements at the Breezeway entrance, and these are costed out at around $390,000, and these are improvements in a general area of improvement that the schools have identified as being important and has identified specifically will, beyond the $1 million commitment, be included as part of their project budget, and they will incorporate that and move forward with that element as well. So when we look at traffic signalization, somewhere around $100,000 to $150,000 worth of cost, we look at a $1 million commitment, and we look at the Breezeway entrance improvements that were identified roughly at $390,000. We're looking at a significant commitment to help address traffic issues, help improve how this area of the city functions, both with a school and with daily and regular traffic that we experience now and expect to experience in the future as the city continues to grow. There's a commitment, we believe, conditioned on this approval moving forward to translate these commitments into an interlocal agreement, and staff would recommend approval with that condition, and that you not take your final vote until we've developed an interlocal agreement that memorializes these commitments and clearly spells them out so that we all know what we work from to help address these improvements and to help take the necessary steps to help make this school function in our community. So those are the specifics around the partnership. 2 weeks ago, we really had just more of the concept of we were working together, and I want to thank Williamson County Schools for their leadership in stepping up and defining this and working with us to help understand what this could mean and how these can translate into addressing issues and moving forward.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, we're going to move forward to the public hearing part of this, so anybody who wishes to address this body, kind of stand in line. A couple rules and requirements. One is we're going to limit you to 2 minutes, and there's going to be a buzzer that goes off at 1:45, so you'll know that your time is drawing near. 2 is no cheers, whistle, boos. Respect everybody that's up there, whether they agree with you or don't agree with you. Everyone has an opportunity to speak and should not be intimidated by what other people feel in the crowd. So, and also please state your name and your address before you get started. Okay. So go ahead.
Into this?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Nicole Herr. I live at 1127 Waverly Place, Franklin, Tennessee. That's both in the city and county limits. As my 2 boys enter into their 4th overcrowded year at Trinity Elementary, I'm actually here representing 412 other Trinity families who have signed this petition asking for the alderman and the mayor to vote yes to rezoning the Breezeway property. Trinity Elementary was originally designed for 600 students, and with an additional wing of classrooms plus 6 portables, we are enrolling 960. It's a projected enrollment of 960 students this year. That's 1.5 times the capacity of the general common areas, which includes cafeteria, gym, library, music, computer, nursing, and art. Obviously, this type of overcrowding has a huge impact on not only the quality of education, but also the health maintenance of our children, as well as the safety of our children. These are not minor concerns, quality of education, health, and safety. They're major and urgent concerns. Early in the summer, when it was announced that they purchased, that the county purchased property, most people breathed a sigh of relief and were excited that this was all going to move forward and get this problem resolved. After all, we've been waiting 3 years for this, and it'll be 4 by the time of the projected completion. Over the last few weeks, we obviously have realized that it's a more complex issue and that we need the city to support us in this as well. So in addition to the quality of education, the health, and the safety concerns, we also, the fourth reason that we urge you to vote yes is so that the city of Franklin can be actively involved, as some of the discussions were previously, to solve the safety issues and address the problems together. We're all one community. Let's make sure all of our children, not just ones in certain areas, are taken care of. I can read the petition to you, or
That's
I
all
can,
right.
should I submit it
Just
somewhere?
submit it, you can pass it
Okay.
over there. And thank you for not bringing all 450 people here to talk.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If
You wanna-
if you want that submitted to the record, you probably need
Give
to
it-
do that now.
Yeah.
Give that to.
Give her the petition.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Campbell. I live at 1403 Fleming's Court in Franklin, Tennessee, McKay's Mill, which is in the city and the county of Williamson County. And I too am here representing the 412 other families who signed those petitions tonight that couldn't be here because tonight's our sneak a peek and we're welcoming even more bodies into an already overcrowded school. I guess one minor note, as a Franklin resident, a somewhat new Franklin resident, I came here from California, and I know I'm one of many transplants, but one of the things that drew me specifically to Williamson County and specifically to Franklin and McKay's Mill were the great schools that other places like my previous state couldn't offer. And one of the major things about California is overcrowding. So to see a school as overcrowded in a city as great as Franklin, it hurts a transplant like myself. So again, representing 412 families that are part of an overcrowded school who is going on their 5th year of being overcrowded. 5 years in a row, Trinity has been over capacity. When you talk about capacity, we're talking about two main things. That is classrooms and common areas. We have a school built for 850 students, and the 2010 projected enrollment is 960. So 960 students in 43 classrooms. 43 classrooms in a school that was built with its common areas in mind to really house 35 classrooms. When you have 43 classrooms, that puts your common areas at risk. So like Nicole said, stuff that is so important for schools, PE, art, music classes, lunchrooms, libraries. When you have a school as overcapacitated as ours, it puts those things at risk. I have some additional information here that I will submit that basically shows that Trinity is just the tip of the overcrowding iceberg. There are other schools in Williamson County, Kinrose, Nolensville, Oakview, Sunset. All these schools going forward, 2010, 2011, 2012, we are just the first to enter this overcapacity era. So I urge you, please vote yes on behalf of myself and the 412 families that couldn't be here tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, ladies and gentlemen of this community and communities around here. My name is Anthony Laura. I just moved here a little while ago, and I looked around the neighborhood, and I says, you know, the roads aren't that bad, but you have a couple of choke points. That railroad that comes over at McEwen, no matter what you do before that railroad, you got a choke point. You got one lane going, one lane coming. People get impatient when they drop their children off, especially if they're late for work. Men and women are going to do stupid things no matter what you tell them. You know? You just need one to make a mistake and to jump around and cut somebody and put them into the ditch like you had this Sunday. Right over there. Somebody went into a ditch. Now, if there's a little child in the back seat, that kid gets tossed around, God forbid something happens to him. What's everybody going to tell the mother? I'm sorry? No, you're not sorry. You fix the roads before you put them in the seats. The roads have to be in before you put children on them to go to that school. You're talking about 900 people more. When in 2004, you had a study done in this area for the breezeway. And the city council here, they paid for it, no problem. You know, and what did study come back? The study came back and said, you got to do something with the roads, especially the choke points. And I said to myself, all right, they would fix it. But what happened? It fell on deaf ears. Same thing like that gentleman was talking about. we got this much money, we got that much, but is it gonna get spent? You could say you got $1 million you're gonna spend, but did you spend it? You didn't spend it. You know, I'm not saying it's a liars, but somebody's being misled somewhere. And you have the children in the balance. You know, you gotta worry about the children. That's all our hope in this country is our children. Our children are protecting us over there in the Middle East. That's our children. They're big children, but they're protecting us. Would you put their kids in harm's way and say, maybe you could squeeze by? No, you don't do things like that. All right, that's all I got to say. I have a little thing here that I wrote down. It tells you about my heart condition. What happens, I got a heart condition, a bad one.
We're going to have to cut you off there.
Okay, that's no problem.
All right, thank you. Next.
Thank you very much for listening. My name is Anthony Laura.
Your address?
I'm in, what is it? 9205. 9205 Klein Court.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would like to hand this in
You may do
to
that.
the people from the paper. Is anybody here from the paper?
A reluctant hand goes
Usually Ellen and us, not Kevin.
All right. Next.
My name's John Scott. I live at 9341 Clovercroft Road. We also have a petition I'd just like to submit with neighbors that couldn't be here as well, so I'll give that to you. So we're going to have probably 7 or so people speaking to vote for no on the rezoning, which is why we're here. And I'd like to read a statement. As I review this process, I've become more and more disenchanted with how this has taken place. There are so many things wrong with this school site and the entire process, from the safety and traffic issues to the quote from an alderman stating, "No other proposal would have gotten this far," in reference to this rezoning request, to the infrastructure questions that have not been answered, to what I consider the blackmail tactics used to ram this down your throats. On all levels, I'm disappointed. The statute that my neighbor Dennis Gallagher read last week is clear. This site should not be rezoned as it does not meet the it does not meet the criteria for rezoning set by you, the city. While I will continue to fight this school location through all legal means, I also will make my vote count in the coming years to ensure this type of behavior is not reelected. I did want to speak to the overcrowding issues at Trinity. The numbers I have, which are from the Williamson County 2010 School Fact Book, state that they are 84 students over capacity. However, there are 4 schools in the surrounding area that are all under capacity, according to this document. Crockett has 75 seats available, Kinrose has 23, Sunset has 75 seats, and Edmondson has 75 seats. Those are all in the surrounding area. That's a total of 248 seats available in the surrounding schools to Trinity, 248. Instead of spending $22 million haphazardly during possibly the worst recession this country has gone through, has the school board thought about busing students to another location? I know this is difficult, but we are using an enormous amount of taxpayer dollars for a poor site selection and one that does not meet the rezoning criteria.
Mr. Scott, I'm going to have to cut you off at that point in time. Thank you.
My name is Laurian Scott. I live at 9341 Clovercroft Road. I have 2 words: due diligence. The community of Clovercroft surrounding this proposed school site has borne factual witness time and time again here at this podium and through countless emails and phone calls to the total disregard of the school board's lack of due diligence surrounding the proper selection of a school site. Namely, the necessity to secure a safe, valid site that complements the city and county's current infrastructure rather than demoralizes it. The brash and egotistical behavior displayed by the Williamson County School Board constitutes a serious nature of fraud, collusion, and overall reckless abandon for taxpayer dollars. Safety. How many times do we have to say it to make you believe that we are afraid? We do not want to risk the lives of those we love daily until that dream of infrastructure becomes a reality. You can draw a line in the sand. Those in favor of rezoning are only in favor because they want a new school. It could be anywhere close by and they would be in favor, but let's be clear. They are in favor of a new school. Rezoning of this particular property has no authority on whether or not a new school should be built and should hold no bearing on this decision. That is a separate issue. I understand the pleas of Trinity parents, but I do want you to know that I've been a parent at Woodland the past 3 years. I've heard Trinity parents continue to name lunch times as one of the main overcrowding issues. If I had known to complain about this, I would have. My daughter, Woodland is not at full capacity, yet my daughter ate lunch at 10:30 one year and 12:45 the next. She was either not hungry at all or starving. This is yet another example not of overcrowding, but poor planning, and it should be noted as such. It seems to be a theme in this great school district that people clamor to be in, though likely not for long at this rate. The school board has been forced to admit rather unashamedly time and time again that they have not done their due diligence involving traffic, road safety, sewer, and numerous others before the purchase of this property. Let's just hope that that will be the worst of it rather than an accident or two or a fatality due to your unwillingness to simply do your homework, your due diligence before you purchase a property with taxpayer dollars and then bully your way into getting a school built under hazardous conditions. And on another note, if you wouldn't mind just looking at your tape from number 11, the hypocrisy is something I honestly cannot bear. And I would never, if you guys knew what site this is, I mean, I'm afraid for my family with all of this new influx, and I would never put more hazard onto other families because we're scared for our own. Let's find a good site. Let's not endanger more people because we're overcrowded. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kate Gallagher. I'm a resident of the city of Franklin, and I live at 521 Federal Street in Breezeway. We all share a common goal to offer our children the best educational experience possible. However, we must provide it in a safe environment while protecting the rights of the surrounding neighborhood. I believe the proposed Breezeway site does not meet these criteria. My neighbors have expressed their concern about traffic infrastructure and road safety. I would like to share with you my perspective as a Breezeway resident who moved into our home only 8 months ago. My husband and I were very excited to purchase our new home and expected our development would grow to 130 plus homes in the years to come. We felt safe in the knowledge that our development had been platted for residential property. Imagine our shock when we learned BOMA was considering rezoning part of our development from low residential to civic and institutional for a proposed elementary school. We, as City of Franklin residents, must ask the following questions. If the application for rezoning is passed, what precedent does this set for future development in Franklin? Why would a prospective resident take a chance on purchasing property in a new residential development when there are no assurances that their development will remain zoned residential? What message would BOMA be sending to companies who are considering relocating their business and employees to Franklin if their employees don't have the assurance of the city's zoning ordinance protecting their investment in a home? The homepage of the City of Franklin website boasts CNN Money Magazine has named Franklin one of the top 100 best places to live. Franklin was the only Tennessee city to make the top 100. Will Franklin be on next year's list if businesses question whether their current and prospective employees will want to purchase homes in the city? What will happen to city tax revenue? Homeowners and prospective home buyers rely on the protection provided by the city's zoning ordinance and BOMA's enforcement of those ordinances to ensure the proposed development is compatible with existing development. Please do not take the "if they build it, the infrastructure will come" attitude about this school. We residents live near the property. Our neighborhood will no longer be the peaceful rural residential area we expected when we purchased our homes. Traffic will be snarled and emergency vehicle response time will be compromised due to inadequate infrastructure. I proudly stand with my fellow Breezeway, Chardonnay, Wilson Pike, Worthington, Tullis Road, Clovercroft Road, and many McKay's Mill residents, and other surrounding neighborhood residents in urging BOMA to vote no to this rezoning request before you. Thank you for your attention and your consideration to our request. Respectfully, Dennis, who is unable to be here this evening, my husband, and myself, Kate Gallagher.
Hi, my name is Amber Zielinski. I'm a resident at 9018 Chardonnay Trace, Franklin, Tennessee. And I just wanted to review what we know so far. Your own Planning Commission has recommended a no vote. Your own staff have recommended that we wait on more development before we build more roads. Your own city engineer has recommended waiting until the roads are improved before any further development in that area. Your own fire department has grave concerns about traveling along McEwen Road. They avoid that road whenever possible. Upon looking at McEwen Road, I took some pictures, and what we have over and over again are people trying to straighten that road out on their own. We've got beaten up mailboxes all along the road that are from cars trying to straighten out the road. Another beaten up mailbox. Another beaten up mailbox. We've got breaks in the fence from all the cars that have gone through the fence, and the owners just don't repair the fences anymore because they know it's going to happen again. We've got this one. We've got this one. We've got this one. You can hardly see the fence here. And then we have city signs that are propped up along the fence because they get knocked down so many times. They haven't been put up. They're just placed up on that broken fence. Finally, there will be overlap of traffic. We know that there are many teachers and child care students that come to school during that high commute time. And then finally, I'm concerned about the small driveway in front of the school. The large driveway behind the school has capacity, but that routes traffic through Breezeway, and that's unacceptable. Thank you.
Hello, I am Jessie Somerville-Meyer, and I live at 1123 Hudson Lane in McKay's Mill. I'm the mother of 2 children who attend Trinity, and I too am here this evening representing the 412 Trinity families who could not be present. But we're asking for you to vote yes to rezone the Clovercroft Wilson Pike property. Trinity's overcrowding means we are no longer able to protect the health of our kids. Our most critical health issue is that our single-cot medical clinic is staffed by 1 nurse who's attending to the specialized medical needs of many students during the midday hours, such as providing them with insulin shots prior to their lunch periods. What that means is that beginning around 10:30 a.m., the nurse can only focus on these kids, and sick children must therefore be cared for by the office staff in the reception area. While the exact number of children who require insulin administration is a confidential number, it is a significant enough portion of our student population that the nurse is generally unavailable from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It is our understanding that teachers avoid sending kids to the clinic during this time also. Parents are greatly disturbed that their healthy children must remain in the classroom with kids who are not feeling well, thus raising their risk of exposure to a wide variety of illnesses. As an RN myself, I wonder about the risk of one nurse being asked to administer insulin to so many students. It is a potentially lethal drug. Also, the fact that other sick kids are being asked to wait in the lobby or in the classrooms for care is simply wrong. It exposes our teaching staff to more potential illnesses and takes away their attention from other students in the classroom and adds to the likelihood that a seriously contagious illness such as the flu will spread throughout the student population. Thank you for your consideration, and again, we urge you to vote yes. And on another note, there are so many things I would like to say about why it's not safe, and I'll stop, I'm respecting the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Maureen Menko. I live at 1401 Harv Court in the city of Franklin. I have 2 children attending Trinity. I am going to talk a little bit more about safety. I helped run the petition drive this afternoon at Sneak-a-Peek, and it was incredibly, overwhelmingly wonderful to see how much support we got from the parents in that room. We managed to get 412 signatures in under 2 hours. And one area of concern that parents really wanted us to talk about was safety. Last year, I talked to the Williamson County School Board about the time that a medical emergency occurred at Trinity late in the day, because parents were already in the car rider lane waiting to pick up their students, and because overcrowding forces cars to be double stacked in a single entry drive, the EMS responders who arrived were forced to drive over the lawn. And I think that is worth repeating. They could not access the school down the driveway. The double-stacked car rider lane is another safety issue as well, because although policy now requires that car engines be turned off, children must cross between closely parked cars. Additionally, on the days that the traffic officer does not show up to direct traffic on 96, total chaos ensues. There's no additional staff and no backup person is assigned to direct traffic on those days. Another safety issue, overcrowded hallways. Between the hours of 11:15 and 12:15, the lunchroom cannot hold all the classes who have finished their lunch. Students queue up in the hallways near the entrance doors to wait to go back to class. Greatly reduces fire codes. Overcrowding also means we have 6 portable classrooms. 6. Should the day occur, and we hope this never happens, that the rest of the building needs to be under electronic lockdown, there's nothing to prevent access to the portables. Finally, here's an issue nobody really wants to think about. The septic system at Trinity is over capacity, or at capacity, I'm sorry, at capacity. It can't take too many more flushes. There are almost 1,000 little people at Trinity depending on us to move this forward. We urge you to vote yes. Thank you. I have a copy of my remarks.
Good evening. My name's Chad Hanshine. I live at 2003 Brewster Drive in McKay's Mill in Franklin. I also am a Trinity parent, one of the 412 families who petitioned yes. I have 2 children at Trinity, and I'd like to tell you why I think you should vote yes. It's a win for all. A yes vote keeps the city in control. Code and aesthetic requirements can be enforced with proper rezoning. A yes vote encourages cooperation. To minimize spending, all levels of government must plan together to manage the area's growth. A yes vote puts a priority on education. Families are attracted to Franklin and Williamson County because of the excellent school system, not because we have nice roads. A yes vote maintains property values. Our excellent school reputation is at risk, and that directly affects property values, which in turn affects property tax income. A yes vote solves traffic problems. A school zone with traffic lights along Clovercroft will discourage through traffic from outside the county. A yes vote improves traffic safety. Use the $1 million joint WCS City of Franklin Adequate Utility Fund to install traffic lights along Wilson Pike. A yes vote earns income. Significant impact fees can be collected. A yes vote gains a customer. A school buys city utility services during off-peak hours, paying for the use of existing infrastructure. A yes vote adds leverage. The presence of a school will add urgency to the state's project to redesign Wilson Pike and its tunnels. Conclusion, there are many, many reasons why this site is a great way to build up the city and the county. We urge you to vote yes. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Chris Salamini. I live at 3018 Westerly Drive in Franklin. Westerly Drive is a straight road, and I can tell you that the mailman knocked over one of my mailboxes the other day, so it doesn't have to be a curvy road for people not to drive properly. I have 2 children that are going to be affected by whatever decision is made here, and so I've done as much research as I could, and I've tried to be very objective. I don't think anybody can argue that there is a need for a new school, and there's plenty of compelling reasons tonight that state that there are. Whether this is the perfect property for a new school, I think at this point might be immaterial. The decisions have been made, the property was purchased, that's taxpayers' money that was spent. Whether it can be ready in time for the new school year, questionable, maybe immaterial as well. This is a classic example of different entities in a community not communicating with each other, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to hear Mr. Stuckey's comments earlier indicating that there is some communication going on right now and that things could potentially be moving forward. When I look at the history of this, I think there's culpability on both sides. The ordinance requiring zoning approval was approved 2 years ago. The school board knew about it and either chose to ignore it or disregard it. I've even seen lately in the newspaper that they've said they're only going through this approval process as a courtesy. That being said, we still have to do with what we've got here. The school board found a piece of property, made recommendation to the county. They approved and appropriated funds without city involvement, and now we're having to deal with the challenges and the cost associated with that decision that's been made. I'm going to move to the end. The solution. It's time to move forward and make do with what we have. The last thing the taxpayers and constituents and parents want to see is this turn into a legal battle, and it seems like that's the way it's headed based on the conversation tonight. I'm counting on the city to vote yes, and then to make enforce rules that make the new location safe. If speed and improper driving on McEwen is an issue, that's an enforcement issue, not a road issue. So please vote yes. It's good for our children, it's good for our community, and I want to make sure our kids have the best education they can get. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Schrader, and I live at 9072 Chardonnay Trace in Franklin. And believe it or not, I support the parents, the 413 families at Trinity. If they have an overcrowding issue, as they have talked about, I support them because I have children as well, but not at the cost of jeopardizing other families or other people, children's safety. I ask this body to be of courage. Make a fact-based decision, not an emotional one. The facts, as we have heard, there is no infrastructure. You can come and see. The infrastructure is not there. There are valid safety concerns for the children, and that tugs at our heart, but for the adults, the animals, anybody that is in that surrounding area. And there's no real plan to address concerns prior to the opening of a school. We've heard of Band-Aid things. I hear 1 million. A couple of meetings ago, I heard it would take 17 million to fix McEwen. Think about what the lack of honest data analysis has caused BP, Toyota, Wall Street, officials trying to deal with immigration laws, mining companies, and the list goes on and on. And I only wonder if all of those entities, if they could dial back, turn back the clock and make a different decision. I honestly wonder, and perhaps you do too, would they have had they made an honest data analysis. Again, please be of courage and make a fact-based vote. Now, what I do in the private sector as a member of top management, I can not only go to places and give issues, I must also have possible solutions. And so I have been canvassing the neighborhood of Chardonnay and Breezeway, and seriously have talked to neighbors who are saying they are willing to perhaps buy back the land from the school. Of course, we will want to negotiate a price, and I will lead those negotiations. But we really would consider that. I've talked to people seriously, and people are talking about banding together because the issue is so great. Please be of courage, not political, not emotional, of courage. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Laura, and I'm a resident of Williamson County, and I'm here to represent my wife and 4 children. We live in the Chardonnay community, which is adjacent to the entranceway of the proposed school that's in question here tonight. and I'm totally against the building of this rush job of a school. The roadways surrounding this area can and will not in no way handle what will soon be traffic congestion. I am completely amazed how anyone with common sense and good judgment could vote in favor of this school being built here prior to the expansion of the roadways. I understand the necessity of the school, the overcrowding issues. It's something that definitely needs to be addressed, and we all know about it. They definitely need a school, but this is not the place. We all know the importance of education for our children, but at what expense? Have any of you ever driven on McEwen or Clovercroft Road at 7:30 in the morning or till 8 in the morning? Very narrow roadways, no shoulder, peaks, valleys, and many sections with no guardrail at all, allowing many vehicles the opportunity to either fall in a ditch or maybe a quick descent down a rolling hill. Let's not forget the blind spot at the crest of the hill on Clovercroft Road, where the school entranceway is proposed. Imagine the morning sun glare as as a rushing mother is heading to school, and the mother temporarily loses sight as a group of children are crossing in front of her car. Do you really think we are supposed to believe that a single police officer and a crosswalk is going to alleviate that problem? We aren't dummies. Good luck to the crosswalk, and good luck to the police officer as he's trying to stop a vehicle from careening out of control. Have you thought about a tragedy waiting to happen? Adding more traffic to these areas, you will see those tragedies will actually happen. Does anyone care if there's an elderly man in the home at 8 o'clock in the morning having a heart attack? How will that ambulance get to him? Are his loved ones supposed to just watch him die as the ambulance is waiting in traffic to get to him? Because there was no shoulder for the ambulance to pass the buses or the cars dropping off their children at that time? Or what about the children that are getting dropped off early at school? One of them that's eating breakfast and chokes on it. How long do you think an ambulance will get to him? A car accident where someone is injured, how long will police or ambulance get to these people? If there is just one tragedy that occurs from this school being built and is not supported by the infrastructure, the blood will be on your hands. And believe me, if someone I love, most of all, everybody here better watch their backs. I was a police officer in New York City for 20 years, and I have seen my share of rush hour tragedies, more than anyone here could imagine.
We're going to have to cut you off right there. Anyway, your time's up. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Walsh, and I reside at 111 Bay Hill Drive in Breezeway Addition. My home lies directly on the school boundaries, located on the south side and the southeast portion of this proposed school property. I have 3 topics of concern, all dealing with the perimeter of the school. The first is the back access drive. My question is, what will it take to keep the drive closed, graveled only, and accessible only to emergency vehicles? The reason for not paving is to ensure it would not be opened in the future for car traffic. It's a major concern to our addition for congestion and major delays. My second is regarding the detention pond and water issues caused by the runoff, both from above the ground and below the ground, from county property involving our property at Breezeway, which is in the city limits of Franklin. There was a comment made at the earlier meeting that if the detention pond on the school grounds was not adequate, it would flow into the Bay Hill addition. And I want to know how it's going to get there. Is it going to go overland and flood my yard like it is always flood, or underground and flood my foundation? So how does overflow get from the upper pond to the lower pond, and what effect will this have on current water flow? Question 3 concerns parking during special events. I believe there are 147 parking places designated for school use. When there's a special event at the school, where are parents and other family members going to park? If there are 800 children, 100 staff, say there's 500 families attending this school, and 250 choose to attend. So you have 250 people coming, 100 staff, and maybe another 125 grandparents, divorced parents. So now you're up to 475 parking places needed. Where are they going to park once the parking places have been taken on school grounds? They're going to park at Chardonnay and have to cross the street. They're going to park at Breezeway, and they're also going to park along Clovercroft because that is the closest point. So please consider this and vote no. Thank you.
My name is Brian Silliger. I live at 9395 Clovercroft Road. And I think Dana McClendon might be the only one that knows me from back in 2004, but he was, I think, the only alderman at the time. But I've been preaching the traffic issues out there and the lack of infrastructure for years. And by no means am I against a school for you people that are in an overcrowded situation. But I am against the safety of your kids every morning. 10 trips every week, throw out a number for 25 weeks, every day, for years to come, and there are serious traffic issues in that particular area. You know, if this was a subdivision that was coming out in your area, you would require them to put turn lanes, stoplights, sidewalks, extra trees, and everything. So the $1 million that the county's willing to put up, I think is a wash, because that should be their commitment from the beginning. The problem is, once you get away from that school, once you get away from that stoplight, it goes back into the funnel where there are no shoulders. You guys talk about emergency vehicles. The lady that came up here that talked about the emergency vehicle in the Trinity area, you can't get to the school. You will not be able to get to the school. There is no way for that emergency vehicle to get there. There are no shoulders. There was no due diligence done in this site process that was chosen by Williamson County Schools. That's why it's the Franklin Board and Mayor of Alderman have given them time to get their ducks in a row. They purchased land without doing their due diligence. How is that a good way to spend our tax dollars? It's your tax dollars and it's mine. It's your kids and it's my little kid, because my little daughter someday may go to that school. But my issue is that since 2004, Ernie Bacon said there could potentially be blood on Franklin's hands because of the substandard roads. The Planning Commission at that time said before Breezeway first phase is built out, McEwen from Oxford Glen to Wilson Pike should be completed. We are repeating history. We've got to stand up. I'm willing to raise my hand to find a better location. There are commercial real estate people out there that are willing to talk to the county, because I've talked to them. And I'm willing to make this a better place for everybody and find the right location. And again, I would like to pose for the record 280 reasons why the potential area of the school that is proposed should not be in that area. I'm for schools. I'm for kids, but not in that particular area. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Lana Hines. I live at 1200 Firth Court in McKay's Mill, and I'm nervous, so.
What is your name?
Lana Hines, and I live at 1200 Firth, that's Firth. I'm asking that you please vote for the rezoning on the property for the school out here on Clovercroft. I just want the city of Franklin to work with Williamson County's Board of Education and also add in some of the $1 million school facility money the city has in escrow to help with the turn lanes and the traffic lights. I understand the school will be putting in around $1.2 million towards road and traffic improvements, and we cannot afford to lose that improvement. Please vote yes, so that we are not left with the school going in and out here without turn lanes and traffic lights and other improvements. That would not be right. As an alderman, I would hope that you would see the big picture here and do the right thing to make sure that we obtain all the help in mitigating and moving the traffic through in the morning and the afternoon when school begins and ends. Even though the school does not impact the traffic movement all day long, only an hour in the morning and less than a half an hour in the afternoon, the traffic that travel these roads all day long and make it safer to get out onto Wilson Pike and Clovercroft with traffic signals as needed. I will be traveling to that school. I have one son who's in first grade, and next year I'll have another boy in kindergarten. So we'll be using this school. We live in McKay's Mill right down the road off of McEwen Road, so I will be driving on McEwen.
please help us and the other parents that live in these residences that live over here, as we will be the ones that will be traveling these roads. If you could see the big picture, the new school is going to get built. We need your help to get these needed traffic signals and turning lanes. Please don't vote no. I mean, this is so important. It's so necessary. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Board, my name is John Walsh. I live at 111 Bay Hill Circle. I appreciate your time and indulgence tonight. I know this is wearing on all of you, and I'll make this very short. I have a concern, and I'll address it in a couple of ways. One is the traffic studies that are being conducted, or were initially conducted, and which the city, I think, has requested. Part of the problem you have with those traffic studies is they use quantitative data and are pretty sterile as far as the way any analysis goes. Signalization, signage, turn lanes will not correct the problems that you have with the lack of transportation infrastructure on this corridor in that particular area. What needs to be looked at and what has to be considered is the area that deals outside of the school property itself, and look at the road construction, the design, the topography, and the lack of a number of different things that are going to affect traffic. One is human factors, and you will never see human factors, or if you do, it's going to be very cursory, dealing with traffic studies, because once you start putting in the traffic of human factors, of environmental factors, things of that nature, it just makes those studies complete chaos. And so you need to really consider that when you look at these proposals. It's not as sterile as it looks like. One is you have little or no shoulders, and when that occurs, you have no recovery time at all. Yeah, I'm going to go real quickly through some of the accidents I've looked at over the last 4 years in that particular area and show you the causation of what those accidents were the result of. And you're going to see what happens is when you get distracted, things are going to occur, especially when you have nowhere to go. There were 16 accidents, 3 with injuries in that 4-year span. 2 of them were out of control, 5 were side swipes, which means is they had nowhere to go or they were inattentive. 2 of them were head-on. 1 was a bridge strike. 2 of them were right-angled, which are T-boned, and 1 was a rollover. So when you look at the traffic studies, please take in consideration other factors than just the way the queuing is going to be or the delays, things of that nature. You do not have the traffic, you do not have the infrastructure to deal with these types of issues, and it's only going to get worse. And it's something that you all, and a number of you, campaigned on in your time to make sure that we do good planning, that we correct some of these problems and decisions that we've made in the past. There's going to be lawsuits. When you have accidents and you have injuries, there's going to be lawsuits. You as a body got forced into this position. And how you handle it is going to depend on what culpability you have when all the cards are laid on the table. We all appreciate your service. We know this is very trying. It's a difficult decision. Thank you very much for your time.
Mayor and Alderman, I'm Kathy Weber, and I live at 1900 Springcroft Drive. There have been a lot of people here tonight voicing their comments about the unsatisfactory conditions relative to the placement of this new school site requested by the Williamson County School Board. But will the buck stop here tonight? Since you're entitled to a vote on this matter, your vote will either facilitate or deter a less than desirable solution. All parties are agreed that there are problems at this time with this particular school site. Are Franklin aldermen absolutely obligated to endorse a request from the Williamson County School Board when conditions are clearly less than acceptable? I say no. I say that your no vote shows that BOMA recognizes these dangerous conditions and is not willing to put these students in harm's way, especially when it's known that the overcrowding in Trinity School could be alleviated by repositioning some students to nearby schools that have the capacity. Undoubtedly, new schools will be needed for the growth of our county school systems. However, your no vote will adequately begin and actually begin
the process needed for cooperation between the school board and all the municipalities of the county. Only then, only and with a true comprehensive land use plan approach for our schools will the city and the county together be able to sustain their excellent systems. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kitchens. I live at 7116 Tullamore Lane. I'm a Trinity parent. And I didn't write anything out real fancy. I've just been listening to the comments. I wasn't planning on speaking. But two things have struck out to me. It's kind of funny, we're all arguing different points. But a couple of things that stand out is that this site selection has been called a rush job. Ever since I've been living here, the last 4 or 5 years, they've been looking for property. I even went to the advanced viewer, you know, the thing that shows all the plats, and I'm like, okay, they need at least 22 acres. Wow, I want that one. That's not how it works. I can't go up to a 22-acre lot and say, that's the perfect place, I want your land. This is Tennessee. They get to choose from what's for sale. Is it adequate? Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. Guess what? It's not perfect at Trinity either. There's no shoulders on 96. Have you ever driven down North Chapel Road or trying to turn left? No. Trinity Road, terrible. This is Williamson County. If we want wonderful roads with wide shoulders, dig into your pocketbooks, because that's the only way it's going to happen. We can't ask for the world and do nothing about it. This is going to help. The city of Franklin can benefit from this, along with the school district. The second thing that stood out to me was repositioned students. I actually asked the school board, can I just take my kids somewhere else? I'll go ahead and I'll drive them. I'll be part of the solution. Okay? This is not a restaurant. We can't just move kids around. Oh, well, we've got 75 spots here. Who wants to go? That's not the way it works. We're supposed to plan it out. And guess what? That only works this year. It doesn't work next year. Jonathan already mentioned, guess what? There isn't 75 spots available at Crockett next year. They're at capacity. Guess what? The other 5 schools are over capacity. The entire area is over capacity. This is an adequate facility with the improvements that the City of Franklin and Williamson County schools can work on over the next year. Thank you.
My name is Joey Zarneski. I live at 2221 Wilford Circle in McKay's Mill. Most people are coming up here and we're talking about safety issues and things like that. We talk about sending them to the other schools. It's the same roads. You've got the same issues, okay? The issue here is that we have bad roads in that area. Well, we already have school buses that run down McEwen. We already have that issue. We already have, we're only going to have, 3 more buses that are going to go down that road if that school is built. This is a good location for the school. It's just not a good location with the current infrastructure. Fix the infrastructure. We need to fix it anyways. We already know that you're talking about 2013 before you can ever get money for the McEwen Drive. If 2013, well, how overcrowded is Trinity going to be by then? Where else can you put the school? The growth is east. If the growth is east, then we're going to have to build schools east. If we're going to build the school, are we going to wait till 2015 for the infrastructure to go in and then build the school when Trinity has got 1,200 kids in it? Or are we going to bus kids all around and do hodgepodge zoning like we're already doing and put the same kids on the same roads? And so, you know, if we're already using McEwen, we're already going to send the kids on the same roads. Most of those roads out there, Sunset doesn't have a whole lot of curbs either. And it's not Clovercroft is not a great road, and neither is McEwen. But the only way to fix it is to make a commitment. And that commitment can either be springboarded by a school, or it can be just sit back and do what we've been doing and try to move it up the priority, try to do whatever. If we can get some grants, because we have a school out there, we can get the state to pony up some money and talk to them, do things like that, ask the federal government to help. Schools, my wife is a teacher. When you have that many kids in a school, you're not getting good quality education. You worry about the safety of the kids, the parents are driving them on the roads already, the buses are on the roads already. What we're losing on those kids is their education because they're in an overcrowded school. And so I urge you to vote yes, because we need a new school. That is one of the best locations for the growth of the county because it is the east side of town. Or you're going to end up waiting and you're going to have 1,200 kids in it or more, or hodgepodge and things like that, And this will help with the strategic plan that the school board is working on next week on where they want to go, because that's the direction of the growth. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jason Golden, as you all know, the operations director for the school system. Of course, our office is 1320 West Main Street. With your permission, I'd like to give 2 minutes, if you're okay with that. One question, of course, this gentleman previous to me did address. Our buses do drive on these. Our buses do. I have to duck.
We need a mic extender.
Our buses do drive.
You could get on your knees. If in fact, that might be very appropriate.
The symbolism of that. I like the symbolism. Of course, our buses do drive on these roads every day, and if you all are familiar with the county, we have schools throughout the county that are on similar roads, because those are county roads. And you all saw the presentation we made prior to this at the Planning Commission at the first reading. I did want to mention a couple of little things specifically. As you all know, we talked over the course of time to city administration, and there are some things we're going to do upon construction regardless of you all's no. These are not all contingent. The things that we talked about, the sidewalk across the Clovercroft frontage, the additional auto stacking that we talked about, adding trees and other landscaping on the site, looking at the possibility of moving the school start time just a little bit. We do have a little bit of flexibility, 8:30 to 8:45. We're going to look at that, especially during those times when you all are looking to improve this Clovercroft area. I did want to also recognize that you all have known for years that Clovercroft is an area of growth, that McEwen is an area of growth, and you all have had it on your capital improvement plan, but you face the same issues we face, the same issues. It's funding. We have the same trouble with schools. Schools end up coming a little behind because of funding, because we're government. You all face the same issues. What we're offering you here is a contribution to that funding so that we can get moving on this area. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing session. Again, let me read the ordinance so everybody knows what's here. Consideration of ordinance 2010-55, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to rezone 22.7 acres from low residential R1 to civic and institutional C1 for property located along Clovercroft Road and west of Bay Hill Circle. Is there a motion?
Yes, I have a motion. I have a motion to approve with comment as well, but contingent on Williamson County Board of Education entering into an interlocal agreement with the city, summarizing their agreement with the city as entered into their memo with Eric Stuckey, City Administrator, which was stated on August 6, 2010. And that includes the numerous things that he mentioned.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Bev, you can comment.
Oh, well, man, there's a lot to say, but I'm going to keep it brief, because
I'll take that.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
All right. 2 minutes.
Start over under. And some side bets here.
2 minutes. Put the beaver. Start.
All right.
Start.
She said you could go have that.
Put it on her.
Somebody talked about courage tonight.
Can't do that.
Courage, not emotion. And that's exactly what I come before you tonight with courage, because it does take courage for every one of us to sit up here and make this decision. It's not an easy decision. Each person that came tonight had very valid points, extremely valid points. But we have a situation where the school has purchased that property, and they will build the school. And I think it is very foolish for us to not partner with them and not put in infrastructure and not do the best job that we can over there. Do I like that piece of property? Am I thrilled with that area? Am I thrilled with the infrastructure? Not necessarily. No. But we have what we have right now, and we are getting ready to improve McEwen. It gets started in a month or two, and McEwen Phase 4 will be down to Wilson Pike. That was number 47 on our list a few years ago. It is now number 7, and we will be meeting again with our board to reprioritize our capital improvement projects, and hopefully that will move to number 1 position And soon, when we get money available again, our money tree blossoms, we will be able to put some money into design and construction of that street, of that road. There are different things that are coming. We do need turn lanes, we do need some infrastructure, we do need some lighting out there that will serve that public out there, all of us, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I understand and I hear you all. I have heard you all. And thank you for all the emails. I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me your opinion. But I will be voting for this evening because I want us to partner with the city, I want the city to partner with the Board of Education and do the right thing. Some people have said, what is the right thing to do? Do the right thing. Somebody has one opinion what the right thing is, the other person has another opinion. But the right thing as an elected official is the health, safety, and welfare of the parents, the students, the residents of this community. And I would be amiss if I did not address the health, safety, and welfare of a school that was being put in there and not partner with them and leave them put that in there without any help whatsoever and not have those improvements. Thank you.
Pearl. Mr. Mayor, I will be saying yes to road improvements based on the interlocal agreement. I will be saying yes to improving student education in Williamson County. So my vote tonight will be yes based on infrastructure improvement, number one, based on the agreement that we will develop. And yes, because I believe in children and I believe in good education.
Yeah, Dana. Well, as for this partnership, I feel a little bit like a guy who got thrown out of a plane, and then a guy jumped out after him and asked if you'd like to share my parachute.
Am I, which one am I? You grabbing mine?
I mean, while I remain grateful that the school administration is here and interested in working with us, I want to take a moment and just look back at where we have been. And it predates, in all fairness, it predates this school administration. When McKay's Mill was being developed, the city made the overture to the school board that the city would create a condition that the developer of McKay's Mill set aside land adequate for a school and make it available to the school board. The school board declined. That was 15 years ago?
A
little more. A little more than that?
96.
I say that because years later, the school board said yes when West Haven got done. It really only makes sense. The developer views the school as an amenity, as a draw, and the school board should not, in my opinion, the school board should, when they have the opportunity, capitalize upon that. So I'm sorry that they said no when we had the opportunity to do that at McKay's Mill, and I'm glad that they said yes at West Haven, and I look forward to creating more opportunities to the extent that we can to work with the school board to do that. We have the opportunity to twist arms that the school board doesn't sometimes. The reality of this situation, and you know, I want to be diplomatic about it, but I will not sacrifice clarity on the altar of tact. The reality of this situation is that I am convinced that the school board is committed to this site. I think they will do this. And if we say no, what will then happen is they will go spend $1 million to create an unnecessary wastewater treatment system. It will be necessary for the school, but it is not necessary in the universe, given that there is a city wastewater treatment facility available to it. I guess we could still offer it to them, but you know, that $1 million would be consumed in a redundant and unnecessary facility. We can say yes, and the school board can then reallocate that money to something that does everyone some good. It displeases me a little bit that we have our priorities and our budgets sort of reallocated for us by the creation of a school where we might, had we been given the chance, had said to the school board, that's not a great place for us right now to help you get infrastructure, maybe here or maybe there. But we didn't have those conversations, and maybe next time we can. I think they're important, and I'm glad, again, nothing I say is intended to chill the cooperation that we're getting now. Given that I am convinced that the school system will build that school where they say they will build it, and that they have bought the land, they are not, in my view, engaged in mere negotiating tactics when they say that. So it looks to me like I can either say no and then and then set up a scenario where we say no and then do nothing to back up our no, or we say no and then we issue a stop work order and we go see the chancellor. And one thing I know, having practiced law for a little while, is that there's one kind of lawsuit that really doesn't make much sense ever, and that is the lawsuit where both sides are being paid by the same people. That is probably the worst result here. And to be honest with you, and to pull back the curtain a little bit for those of you playing along at home, I don't think that it's altogether clear who wins that lawsuit. But I do know this. I think it's probably better if we all play footsie and never find out. Because this gray area where we're not sure whether we can stop them or whether they can do it anyway if we say no, kind of encourages a mutual, it's kind of like nuclear war. How do you really win that? If you get in it, you have lost. And so the pragmatic part of me says, let's don't ask what is almost surely an academic question limited in application to Williamson County, because the circumstances that would be present in that lawsuit really are not replicated anywhere else. You have to have a number of things to get to that lawsuit that don't exist anywhere else. So we'd be making law that no one but us could use, and even then, half of us would be unhappy with it. That doesn't seem to make much sense. I agree with Ms. Berger. I don't think that this is the spot I would have picked if it were me picking. But it's the spot that's been picked. So I kind of get to play the hand I'm dealt. A number of the comments that were directed to us, I have no doubt that Trinity is a great school working very hard to educate too many people, and that another school is desperately needed. I hope that you all share those comments with the people who can recommend the budget to the people who have the authority to raise the money to meet the needs. That's not us. We don't run schools. All we can do is help build roads to and from schools and make sewer available to them. This is not a decision I wanted to have to make. I feel like we can probably not have this problem again, but for the time being, I think I have to make the best decision under a bad set of circumstances. And I think that best decision is to not create a scenario where the same taxpayers are paying both sides of a lawsuit, and to not create a scenario where a school builds $1 million facility that it does not need if only we could cooperate better, and to shake the hand that's been offered to me in a spirit of cooperation going forward, rather than to bow up and make some statement or take some position that doesn't matter at the end of the day. They're going to build a school there, and I feel compelled to cooperate and assist and not say no. I think if we do that, the concerns of the people who and I think most of the concerns about not putting the school there are well said and have merit. I think that the best way to help solve those problems is to accumulate our money and put it towards the solution, as opposed to divide our money and argue about it further. I will, I think, reluctantly vote to rezone this land, and hope that as we go forward, we get better at this cooperation that we're pursuing.
Margaret.
From the emails that I received and the phone calls that I received, the people who wanted the school wanted it for the overcrowding at Trinity, and I understand that. And I want to tell the 450 13 parents that your children are our children, and we are as concerned as we can be about your children, because they belong to us too. And I want you to know that as a board, and no matter how this board votes, we care about your children. I've taught for many, many years, and I know what it is to have an overcrowded school. We happened to plan at our school, and we didn't have this situation. And I would hope that the Williamson County School would plan in the future so that this doesn't happen again. I don't understand how you've had all these buildings, all these portables for so long. This 1,000 children didn't happen this year. They've been, you know, the school has been growing. And so I really don't understand how it got to this point. And I'm really sorry about it. But, and I'm not going to, but you're experiencing the growing pains that we've experienced in Franklin and Williamson County for several years. And they hurt, but they're good pains, because it beats the alternative. If you didn't want to live here, you know, that's your choice. But because you want to live here, we've got these problems. So you're experiencing these growing pains. I'm not going to repeat the reasons for my vote, because I said them clearly at the last meeting, and I'm not going to take up the time to vote, to tell you about why I'm voting the way I am. But I want you to know we care about your children, we care about you, we're glad you're here, and we hope that your problems will be alleviated soon.
I do. Clyde? Well, there's 3 issues here. Number one, Dana's back.
From the dead.
Yeah. Number 2, I'm looking for that tree that blossoms money that Bev referred to. Number 3, I want to compliment everyone that got up and said what they said in the manner in which they said it. I've stood up here long enough to see people running around in the room with no shirts and a Superman cape on in protest of something. So I truly, and Dave Parker and many others can remember the same thing.
West Haven.
West Haven, yeah. So I compliment you for that. I thought every comment that said was very appropriate and very to the point, and I think it was well thought out. I think the interlocal agreement is extremely important as if we go forward. And I would encourage the board, Williamson County Board of Education, to be very diligent and get with our leaders and our officials here and make sure that we have that if it goes to 3rd reading. We're in a position where we'd probably just as soon not be in the position, but we're in it and we asked for it, and we asked for the vote of the people when we got out and made our campaign 2.5 years ago or 6 months ago. So we make the vote, we make the decision. Whether that's the ideal situation and ideal place for the school or not, I don't know that I'm going to make a judgment call on that. I'm not going to make a judgment call on necessarily whether the school is needed or not needed, but apparently it is needed. But I think we have an opportunity here to have some interlocal agreements and an interlocal cooperation between the school board and the city of Franklin, between Williamson County and the city of Franklin, and I think those are extremely important. Maybe not as important as some of you who are opposed to the school being built there think it is. I do think it is. I don't have any intentions of suing myself. That's just the bottom line, straight out the fact. I am not going to sue myself. And that's probably what is going to happen if we do not understand what is happening and what the process is and what the county school board is going through and what's being asked of us. I've supported on the 1st reading. I'll support it again on the 2nd. I would strongly encourage you to have that interlocal agreement agreed to and spelled out as to what we can expect from the county school board and what is to be expected from us here on the board of mayor and aldermen for the city of Franklin.
Ken?
First of all, for the record, Dana spoke twice as long as Bev.
I could have said a lot.
I didn't promise not to.
3 times, but he sighed, so I made it short.
I appreciate the school board's efforts in coming forward and trying to partner. And I want to thank Dr. Looney, first of all, for his all those phone calls he made to all those people to find out who was going to drive their kids to school and who was going to ride the bus. I thought that was really interesting. That certainly won't replace our traffic study that we're looking forward to, but certainly interesting. And congratulations on Perry School. I took the opportunity to go out and look at that facility when it was opened on Sunday, and the thing that I saw there impressed me, brought back a lot of nostalgia. Because there were kids walking, there were kids riding their bikes, there were people driving their golf carts and all different types of transportation to get there. And that leads me to the point that I think our city itself does a good job of trying to plan for the growth that we're experiencing in our area. And I think previously they've made efforts and forays to try to include land in some of these developments. And hopefully going forward we can create some type of relationship so that we create more of those opportunities and we try to get away from driving our kids to school miles away from home and create that opportunity where kids walk to the school again and ride their bicycle. You know, last time there were a lot of questions I thought that were unanswered, and I'm not sure we have all the answers tonight, and I'm not sure we've asked all the questions, but we're seeing some opportunities, there's some understanding as far as what the sewer upgrades are, how to mitigate the traffic somewhat on the roads, and also the signalizations. Based on a documented, well-delineated interlocal agreement, I think I can support it on this reading tonight, but I think the question is to make sure that that agreement is appropriate and it does continue to address traffic mitigation and all other issues that we've been discussing.
Anybody else? Michael.
Mr. Mayor, for the sake of brevity, I yield my 2 minutes.
Good. Anybody else?
I guess since everybody else has said something, I'll just echo Alderman McClendon on many of his comments. It's with great reluctance that I will be supporting it.
Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-1. All right. Item number 13 is also a public hearing. Consideration of Resolution 2010-61, a resolution approving a concept plan for Breezeway subdivision, elementary school totaling 22.7 acres, located along Clovercroft Road and west of Bay Hill Circle by the city of Franklin, Tennessee. And this is a public hearing, and you're back. Have at it.
I'm back. I'll be brief. As I live in Breezeway, the road behind the school, accessing out to Herbert Drive, will be a major thoroughfare if it is allowed to be built. It will be the major access for people to drive through our neighborhood, which was never meant to support that kind of traffic, and it will make it be a nightmare during parent-teacher conferences, any kind of event that is held at the school. It will be an access road, and as busy, and perhaps a traffic light will be needed on Herbert, and that is not what we expected when we moved in less than a year ago. So any kind of support that my fellow Breezeway people who are still here, we're just really concerned about the concept plan as it is presented right now. I understand Mr. Fortney has in fact agreed to discuss it as an option that we would not have to proceed with that as opening out onto Herbert, and we would ask that that be entered into the record.
Okay, thank you. Yeah?
I'll try to be even briefer. I actually partially support, I don't remember her name, but I would recommend, we have similar stacking problems with Trinity, that we try to maximize the stacking situation as much as possible. And I do agree with her for a neighborhood that doesn't necessarily have the demographics that, I mean, I would love a school in my neighborhood, and West Haven loves theirs. But it perhaps look at being one entry, but then the road divides behind the school instead of making it through West Haven. That's just a suggestion. Don't know engineering-wise if it would work. Raceway, I'm sorry. So, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? The rezoning, this is for the concept plan of the school itself.
My name is John Dillard, and I'm building a home in Breezeway on Federal Street. I have 2 young children, and I respect your comment of allowing children to walk. I'm a Franklin resident, have been about 11 years. We all know how complicated the traffic is in town. As I'm trying to get to work, I'm always going to find the legal, quickest way to get around the mess. As I live at the intersection of Federal and Herbert and looking at the proposed plan, there's nothing to slow the traffic down or other parents like myself in town and wanting to be routing through. And I respect, and I grew up near an elementary school. I walk to school. Traffic is bad. I want to be able to protect my 2 children, and I'm wondering what we can do to prevent people from coming through Breezeway. I accept and I understand where the vote is going, but I am concerned for not only my children, but the other children in the neighborhood as well. Is there something that can be done or considered to eliminate that traffic?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, Timothy Walker, 1419 Hanson. I think this is a tough situation that the school board has put us in. I think we need to have some type of Williamson County Planning Commission that does a better job. We don't get put in a situation where the county growth impacts the city of Franklin. As a Franklin and a county resident, it's not really impressive, but I think you have the opportunity to address that whole McEwen area, not only for the students and their mothers and fathers that may be driving through there, but the 5,000 or 6,000 out-of-county residents that come through there to go to work in Cool Springs, where we have developed in the city of Franklin. I think that's an opportunity that has to be addressed as well. Thank you.
Hi, Amber Zelinsky at 9018 Chardonnay Trace. I too have concerns about the stacking in front seems too short. There's no safe place for parking for special events. Chardonnay would not be safe to cross even with a blinking light during school hours. And there aren't enough parking places on the concept site. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I will declare that public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Well, are we going to do anything about
That's a good
what
question.
these folks have said?
Why don't we let our planning director talk a little bit?
Many of those items are site plan items, they're not concept plan items, and they're items that the Plan Commission will look at and certainly consider as the site plan comes forward. I know our staff is already asking questions about that of the architects, but these are not generally concept plan items.
Thank you. Yes, Bev?
Catherine, will you take the comments that were made tonight and address those at that time? And also,
Yes.
I believe on the 26th is the Planning Commission meeting?
Yes, those will be addressed at that time or addressed in the staff memorandum.
All right, because, and I have a few other ones I probably want to submit to you as well that came through, that they want to address the site plan.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. We are now on to new business. Item number 14, consideration of Resolution 2010-63, a resolution authorizing proration of tax assessments of certain real property damaged by the flooding disaster as authorized by TCA 67-5-603.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 15 is consideration of appointments of, if I can find my list, of the Battlefield Preservation Commission. I am appointing, there are 4 at-large position, 1 battlefield property owner, 1 education liaison, 1 reenactment, and 1 alderman. My at-large recommendations are Robin Hood, Jay Sheridan, Mike Plumley, and Mike Granger. Battlefield property owner Jim Roberts. Education liaison Thomas Flagel. Reenactment person Joe Grossen, and the alderman Mike Skinner. Do I have a motion to approve those?
Move approval.
And a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. That is the end of the business. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
I just,
We are adjourned.
you know, I'm just seeing.